There's a truth so simple, so powerful, and so often overlooked that it slips through the cracks of our distracted lives. You are not what you wish for. You are not what you dream of at night, nor what you say you'll do when the timing is perfect. You are what you repeatedly do. You are the collection of your rituals, your reflexes, your choices made behind closed doors when nobody is watching, when no applause is coming, and when there's no consequence for quitting except your own conscience. And that is where wealth begins. Not in a dollar amount, not in a lucky break, not in the magic of a mentor appearing at the right time. Wealth begins in the mind, but it is forged in motion and it is repeated until it becomes instinct. Ask yourself this, not tomorrow, not next year, but right now. What are you rehearsing? Because repetition is rehearsal. Every time you hit the snooze button, you're rehearsing delay. Every time you say, I'll do it later, you're practicing procrastination. And every time you compromise your standard, you are building a habit of mediocrity that will one day become your default. Greatness, like poverty, is not an event. It is a habit system etched into the grooves of your brain like a needle pressed into vinyl. And most people, they live on repeat. They play a broken song from a broken script and wonder why life doesn't change. They want to feel rich before they act rich. They want to see results before they show discipline. They want wealth without the character to hold it. But the universe doesn't pay you based on your potential. It pays you based on your pattern. And that pattern is not hidden in your dreams. It's written in your habits. Thomas Edison didn't stumble into 1,000 failed experiments because he was obsessed with failure. He was obsessed with consistency. Every failure was fuel. Every setback was simply a turn of the lock, another click toward the vault of invention. Because he knew what most people don't. Failure repeated with reflection becomes mastery. Carnegie rose from nothing, not by chasing money, but by chasing structure. He wrote his goals. He organized his time. He studied other minds. He refused to float on the winds of impulse. While others drowned in the tides of distraction, he built ships from habit, strong enough to weather any storm. So ask yourself again, what do you rehearse every single day? Because repetition doesn't care what you say you want, it only cares what you prove you want. And what you prove is written in your rhythm. Now listen carefully. Wealth is not simply the accumulation of money. Wealth is a byproduct, a side effect of becoming the kind of person who attracts value, who multiplies value. And that person is born from a series of conscious, disciplined actions done when no one is clapping and no one is watching. Most people get excited by the idea of transformation, but transformation doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. It comes from brushing your teeth even when no one's around. It comes from reading a page, making the call, waking up when it hurts, saying no when it's easier to say yes, and doing it again the next day, not because it's fun, but because it's required. Want to know the difference between people who hope for success and those who become it? Look at how they treat the days that don't count. Not the grand performance, not the first date or the job interview. I mean the silent days, the lonely hours, the mornings where the bed is warm, but the mission still calls. Those are the moments that sculpt your legacy. Because habit is the chisel that carves your future from the stone of your present. Let's make this clear. The world doesn't owe you discipline. Life won't wait for your motivation to show up. Your purpose is your responsibility. If your habits are weak, your purpose will rot in the basement of your soul, boxed up next to the other dreams you never touched. But the reverse is a weapon. When your habits are weaponized, when they are loaded with intention and precision, you become the threat not to others, but to your own limitations. You become a machine not of cold calculation, but of self-made heat, of momentum, of decision, forged in the fire of intention. You think the greats were born with more hours in the day? You think they had some secret pass to get through life without fear, without failure, without fatigue? Number. They earned their greatness in the shadows. They mastered the boring. They turned routines into rituals, rituals into results. And over time, The world had no choice but to call them exceptional, not because they were born different, but because they became different. Brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. So if you want wealth, not just in your bank account, but in your mind, in your relationships, in your time, in your peace, then understand this. It is not a switch, it is a system. And systems are not sexy. Systems are invisible. Systems are built in silence. Systems are what you return to after the excitement is gone. Systems are what save you when motivation dies, and they are what feed you when no one else believes. A weak man waits to feel ready. A wealthy man builds readiness. You want to master money? Master your morning. You want to master your destiny? Master your discipline. Because the world will try to sell you shortcuts, hustle hacks, secret formulas, but the real secret is that there is no secret. The formula is boring. The process is slow. The path is lonely. And that's why it works. Because most people won't walk it long enough to see the gold at the end. You will never outperform your rituals. No matter how gifted, how passionate, how inspired you are, if your rituals are weak, your results will be forgettable. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your systems. So build stronger systems. Build mornings that serve you. Build environments that challenge you. Build habits that outlive your doubt. Because doubt will come. Fear will whisper. Comfort will beg you to settle. But habits, real habits, forged in fire, will march you forward anyway. And one day, when the world watches in awe, when they call you lucky or talented or naturally successful, you'll smile because you'll know what they don't. You'll know that wealth was never a matter of chance. It was a matter of choice. Repeated and repeated and repeated until it became you. You become what you repeatedly do, and you repeat what you believe you are. That's the next layer most never see. They think habits start with action, but no. Habits start with identity. You'll never behave consistently in a way that contradicts what you believe about yourself. A man who sees himself as lazy might force productivity for a day, maybe a week, but he'll sabotage himself before long. Not because he wants to fail, but because the image he carries inside doesn't fit with the success he's chasing. So what do you believe about yourself? What do you whisper to yourself when the lights go out? Are you the kind of person who finishes what they start? Are you the kind of person who thrives under pressure? Are you the kind of person who gets up when life knocks you down, not once, not twice, but every single time? Because if not, your habits won't stick. They'll slide off like oil on glass, because deep down you're still telling yourself, this isn't me. Identity is the soil. Habit is the seed. You cannot grow the fruit of wealth in the soil of self-doubt. When Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, he wasn't writing a book about money. He was writing about mindset alchemy, about transforming the inner man so that the outer world had no choice but to respond. Every fortune ever made started in the invisible realm: thought, belief, expectation. Andrew Carnegie didn't build steel. He built a vision strong enough to pull resources toward it like a magnet. A vision structured by habits, guarded by discipline, and animated by belief. And belief, real belief, becomes biology. Your body follows your mind, your actions follow your assumptions, you see what you expect to see. That's why two people can look at the same problem, one sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. It's not luck, it's not chance. It's the subconscious filtering for what matches the script. So rewrite the damn script. Stop saying you're unlucky. Stop saying that's just how I am. Every time you say that, you're stapling mediocrity to your soul and calling it honesty. It's not honest, it's lazy, it's small, it's beneath you. You are not your past. You are your patterns. And patterns can be changed. You can be changed, but not with hope, not with one inspiring video, not with a jolt of motivation that fizzles out after coffee. You need ritual. You need identity change forged by action, repeated until belief catches up. This is how giants are built. This is how the great ones rise. They don't wait for belief to show up fully formed. They act as if it's already true, and eventually the mind surrenders. Eventually the body follows. Eventually the world adjusts. Do you understand what that means? It means if you want to become unstoppable, you act unstoppable. If you want to become wealthy, you move like wealth is already inside of you. Not to fake it, not to lie, but to become it. Because the mind doesn't know the difference between reality and repetition. It believes what it sees the most. And if what it sees the most is you, showing up again and again, refusing to fold, refusing to delay, refusing to compromise, it will start to believe. And when your mind believes, your reality obeys. You've been waiting for confidence, but confidence is a result, not a requirement. Confidence is the echo of repeated courage. You want more courage? Start smaller. Show up earlier. Write it down. Clean the room. Take the walk. Make the call. Apologize. Say no. Say yes. Do the uncomfortable thing until it becomes natural. Because once it becomes natural, it becomes yours. And when it becomes yours, it cannot be taken. That's the power of habit. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. It rebuilds your nervous system, rewires your identity, reshapes the lens through which you see the world. And suddenly, the impossible starts to feel inevitable. Not because the world got easier, but because you got stronger. And that strength isn't loud. It's not about shouting, bragging, proving. It's quiet, it's sacred. It's the strength of knowing that no matter what happens, you have a rhythm that cannot be broken. You have a standard that cannot be shaken. You have a system that keeps moving, even when your feelings don't. That's where freedom lives. Not in more comfort, not in sudden windfalls, but in the internal fortress you build from the bricks of repeated action. Some people spend their lives reacting, putting out fires, chasing dopamine, drifting in the current of distractions. But the builders, the creators, the masters, they design a day. They build a morning, they guard their inputs, they choose their battles. And they win, not because they're perfect, but because they don't need to be. They only need to be consistent. That's the great secret no one wants to hear. You don't need to be amazing every day. You don't need to crush it every hour. You don't need to dominate every minute. You only need to repeat what matters. Even if it's small, even if it's quiet, even if no one claps, because small things become big things when you do them without fail. And if you've got the patience to plant seeds and the courage to keep watering them when nothing is visible, then one day they'll grow roots so deep no storm can shake them. Your future is buried in your habits. Your success is hiding in your schedule. Your greatness is quietly waiting on the other side of your discipline. So wake up. Wake up to the power in your own hands. Wake up to the rhythm you're rehearsing. Wake up to the life you're unconsciously building because it is being built, whether you're intentional or not. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day in a world you didn't choose, wearing an identity you didn't build, surrounded by consequences you didn't want, all because you never realized you become what you repeatedly do. But let's go deeper, beyond belief, beyond repetition, into the burning furnace where wealth is truly forged. Discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. It is not self-denial. It is self-respect in action. It is love expressed through structure. It is a promise to your future self that you will not betray them for temporary pleasure. And in a world addicted to shortcuts, your ability to stay on course is what sets you apart. Discipline is doing what must be done even when it hurts, even when you're tired, even when no one is watching and no one will praise you, because you're not doing it for applause. You're doing it to become something no one else dares to become. Discipline is the refusal to abandon yourself. It's what Edison practiced in the silence of late-night labs while others slept and mocked. It's what Lincoln embodied when he rose from nothing, studied by candlelight, and taught himself law in obscurity, not for glory, but because there was something in him that refused to rot in mediocrity. It's what Michael Jordan trained into his bones thousands of shots when no fans were in the stands. It's what Kobe Bryant preached at 4 a.m., shooting in the dark before the world had even sipped its coffee. It's what Walt Disney carried through bankruptcy and betrayal, still sketching mice and dreams no one else could see. And if you think these men were lucky, you've already lost, because luck doesn't wake up before the sun, luck doesn't bleed repetition into art, discipline does, structure does, relentlessness does. So I ask you, how badly do you want it? Not when you're hyped, not when you're inspired, but when your body aches, when your heart doubts, when the voice in your head says, "Why don't you just rest?" What do you choose then? Because that's the moment that counts. That's the moment you stop wishing to be different and start becoming different. And wealth? Wealth is drawn to discipline. It trusts those who can manage their own house, their own hours, their own hunger. It flows to those who are not ruled by whim but led by will. Because money doesn't fix your patterns. It amplifies them. It exposes them. If you're undisciplined with little, you'll be reckless with more. You don't rise to abundance. You earn the right to hold it. And you earn it not in public, but in private, in the lonely hours of practice, reflection, sacrifice. But here's what they don't tell you. Discipline gets easier. Because the more you do something, the less resistance it offers. You bend your biology toward your goal. You sculpt your neurochemistry. You make your habits automatic, and suddenly, what used to be a fight becomes your flow. That's when life bends. That's when momentum compounds. That's when the universe, as Hill said, begins to move in response to your definiteness of purpose. Because you're no longer sending mixed signals. You're no longer negotiating with weakness. You're standing, unmoved, in a rhythm of your own making. And rhythm is power. When you find your rhythm, the world feels slower, quieter. Because while others are chasing chaos, you've built a system that serves your future instead of sedating your fear. A system that protects your peace instead of feeding your ego. A system that creates wealth in time, wealth in focus, wealth in finances because you decided to master yourself first. That's what mastery is. Not domination of others, but the daily, silent domination of your lower impulses, the quiet choosing of purpose over pleasure, of legacy over laziness, of creation over consumption. And when you do that, when you live that, something sacred happens. You start to trust yourself, not with words, not with affirmations, but with action. And that trust becomes unshakable. That's the kind of confidence money can't buy because it's rooted in proof. You know who you are because you've watched yourself rise. You've seen yourself bleed and still move forward. You've earned your own respect, and that respect becomes a mirror. The world starts treating you how you treat yourself. Doors open, eyes turn, opportunities stick, because confidence is contagious, and yours was built, not borrowed. But let's take it one level higher. Beyond discipline, there's a secret weapon most ignore: vision. Without vision, habit becomes hollow. Discipline becomes dry. You need a fire so bright, so personal, so real, that it pulls you out of bed, out of fear, out of stagnation. And not just a vision of money, not just cars or vacations. That's decoration. You need a life vision, a vision of the man or woman you're becoming, a future self that makes your current problems look small. That's what fuels habit. That's what makes discipline joyful. That's what gives your repetition a soul. Your life doesn't need more hustle. It needs a North Star, something to aim at, something that commands your time instead of draining it. Without vision, you'll follow someone else's path. Without vision, you'll repeat habits that build someone else's dream. But with it, with a vision, yours and yours alone, you become unstoppable. Because everything else becomes noise. You stop comparing. You stop doubting. You stop waiting. Because you know where you're going. And when you know where you're going, habit becomes holy. Because now every rep, every routine, every hard choice, it means something. It becomes sacred work. It becomes the bricks of your own personal cathedral. You're not just changing your life, you're building your destiny. And one day, you'll stand in the middle of that vision, and it will look normal. Not because it's small, but because you grew into it. Because your habits carried you. Because your discipline matched your desire. Because your actions caught up with your ambitions. And you'll look back on the long road, the dark mornings, the silent victories, and you'll understand the truth so few ever grasp. You didn't just earn wealth. You became it. Because wealth, true wealth, is never just about what's in your hands. It's about what's in your head, in your heart, and in your habits. It's about whether you can be trusted not just by the world, but by your own future. And that trust isn't granted overnight. It's earned through 1,000 small promises kept, 1,000 moments where you could have folded and didn't, 1,000 seconds where the easy way whispered your name and you walked the other way. This is the war behind all success, not the war with the market or the world or your enemies. The war is within, between the version of you that wants to coast and the version that's willing to climb, between the voice of convenience and the call of conviction, between the person you've been and the one you're becoming. You win that war not with one heroic act, but with the quiet, consistent cadence of repetition. You become what you repeatedly do, not sometimes, not when you're on, but all the time, when no one sees it, when no one celebrates it, when your only reward is knowing you refuse to quit on yourself. And when you live like that long enough, you stop needing permission. You stop asking if you're good enough. You stop doubting the value you bring, because you don't hope anymore, you know. You know who you are. You know what you stand for. You know what you've bled for, worked for, prayed for, rehearsed for. You've built it into your bones. And wealth, real wealth, recognizes that. It rushes toward that, not all at once, not overnight, but in waves that match the rhythm you've created, because the world rewards rhythm. The world rewards those who move with intention, speak with integrity, act with alignment. So, if you want to change your life, stop chasing change. Chase consistency. Show up again and again. Turn your mornings into launch pads. Turn your evenings into strategy sessions. Turn your environment into an ally. Turn your phone from a drug into a tool. Build a schedule that breathes fire into your goals and follow it like your life depends on it. Because it does. This isn't a game. This is your one life. Your one chance. And you were not put here to drift. You were not put here to coast. You were put here to build, to rise, to shape, to stretch, to create a legacy with your time, your energy, your breath. And that legacy isn't some grand moment of glory. It's the accumulation of deliberate repetition. It's the choice to be excellent when you could be average. It's the decision to stand tall when fear tells you to fold. It's the habit of becoming better today than you were yesterday, not for applause, but for the sacred art of growth. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more examples. It needs people so focused on their own path, they become beacons for others. People so grounded in habit, so committed in spirit, that their existence challenges others to rise. That can be you. You don't need to be special. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to decide. You just need to start. You just need to wake up tomorrow and choose the action that aligns with your vision. And then do it again, and again, and again, until your doubt dies of starvation, until your fear runs out of excuses, until your habits have sculpted a life that reflects your potential. That's the real victory. Not the trophy, not the car, not the money, but the moment you look in the mirror and respect the person staring back, because you know with every cell in your body you built them. You didn't inherit them. You didn't fake them. You earned them. And that is wealth. That is power. That is freedom. So let this echo in your mind every single morning. You become what you repeatedly do. Master your habits, and you will master your destiny. Now go. The life you want is waiting, one habit at a time.